Transforming Trauma Unit 2. This is a workshop presentation developed by Dr. Julian Watchorn on behalf of the Foster and Kinship Carers Association of Tasmania. This workshop receives support from the Sydney Myer Fund. In this unit, we will commence looking at the four domains of trauma: trauma and memory, trauma and emotions, trauma and connection, and trauma and representation. In Unit 2, we'll commence exploring the first domain of trauma, trauma and memory. Much of a traumatised child's memory is unconscious. Children may struggle to remember life events. Their working memory may be damaged, and as such, they may struggle to remember instructions. For this reason, it is best to give one instruction at a time rather than 3 or 4. As we've said, trauma serves to degrade a child's memories. Memories of abuse and violence are stored along with the intensity of feelings that accompanied the experiences at the time of the trauma. When memories or partial memories of the abuse are triggered, the overwhelming feelings associated with the trauma flood back into the child's awareness. Because of his or her developmental immaturity, an abused child is unable to make sense of his or her reactions. The powerful feelings from the past are re-experienced in the present without an understanding of what has triggered them. A child's working memory can be extensively reduced at the time. The child is unable to build a story about his life that draws out meaning and understanding. The child is not unable to remember events or the sequence in which they occurred, and the child finds it difficult to learn. Triggers. Triggers can place a child in the middle of either too much arousal or too little arousal. Triggers can be subtle and diverse. A trigger may be a look, a song, a sound, a smell, certain foods, or certain places. A trigger can cause a child's behaviour to seemingly come out of the blue, and the child is often unable to distinguish between the past and the present. Insight into triggers can lead to insight into the similarities of stimuli to the initial trauma memory, understanding the differences between the initial event and the current triggering event, identifying emotional states, and repeated exposure and processing of the traumatic material. The impact of trauma on memory can be demonstrated in different ways. Narrative memory. Traumatised children may lose the ability to make sense of their experiences. Episodic memory. Traumatised children may not remember events that may have occurred during the week, or who they were with and what they have learned. Working memory. Traumatised children may have impaired working memory. Working memory, also known as short-term memory, is a system for temporarily storing and managing the information required to carry out complex thinking tasks such as learning, reasoning, and comprehension. Traumatised children stop being able to hold information long enough for it to be judged as valuable. It is forgotten. For children who experience abuse-related trauma very early in life, the storage of trauma in the limbic system, which is the primitive fear system of the brain, remains very strong and is unavailable for normal cognitive recall or processing. Therefore, chronically traumatised children find it hard to learn and achieve academically. So what helps? Traumatised children need help in building patterns and connective sequencing. The following strategies can help a child to build their memory capacity. Encourage children to communicate. Assist children to interpret and organise their experiences, such as running through the day. Encourage children to reflect. When you thought about, did you, or how did that make you feel? Assist the children to story build.